Hi, Cristina.
Hello, how are you,
Hi.
Joe?
I am a little bit tired from yesterday's game, but very happy. How are you?
I heard you were sharing some saucy images
Yes.
about yesterday's season finale. I'm so
Yes.
excited. It looked so much
Town
fun.
town ending images. My players are having a generally very bad time. So, but they're enjoying it. All right, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. My players' characters are having a really bad time. My players seem to be having a
There you
hoot.
go.
That's
Wording
the
is
correct
everything.
wording is everything. And
Wording is everything.
honestly, they've all been like, when can we play again? Can we play? And I'm
I
actually
love that
taking yeah, yeah,
feeling.
yeah. And I'm actually taking next Saturday off because planning this session, these two sessions because it's a four-part finale because I'm crazy.
Oh, of course. Of
Yeah.
course it is.
Well, no, it's a two-part finale, but there's two groups, so it's a four-part finale.
Oh,
Get it?
yes.
Like,
Yeah. Noted,
um,
noted, noted.
but then wait, they said, "Hey
But
Joe,
wait, there's
can
more.
we?"
Uh-huh.
There's more. They evolved it like a Pokemon. They said, "Joe, can we all play together in the final one?" And I said, "Yes, Charizard." So now it's a five-part finale because correct, Cyndaquil. I see you. I see you. My Snorlax is not near me. Otherwise, we would also have that in common.
I
I
have
just
a
want my pizza.
basket of stuffed animals that are just my props
What else
for
do you
life.
need in life? Nothing.
I mean, I'm doing things
Just
right. I don't know. I don't know.
striving, successfully, struggling,
Striving.
successfully and struggling. It's
Yes,
what we do. It's what we do. It's our brand.
it really is. It really is. I think that I've made it pretty clear. It's what this is episode what? 12, if I'm correct.
77.
Yes. So, so quite frankly, at this point, I think it's been pretty established. Welcome to the nonsense.
Welcome to the nonsense. We will be here every week on Wednesdays, sharing our
Look, sharing our yes, but wait, please hold. Go check out our website. Our website. We don't have one. Our YouTube. We don't have one yet. Our YouTube. If you like anime and you like Spy Family, Joe doesn't, but my husband got me this amazing hoodie for my birthday,
it's
and I
pretty.
love it. It's so cute.
Also,
It's so comfy, and I love it so much.
happy birthday, Christina.
Thank you. Yes, it was my birthday last week, and
And it
I
was very
had a great
exciting.
freaking time. Yes,
That's what matters the mostest.
it was amazing. It really was. And I was visiting Panama not that long ago. So we got to see each other, which is a
We
treat
did. It was
always.
great. It had been too long.
It
Damn
had,
pandemic.
it had. I, I want everybody to know that we did try to record together, but I went to Panama with a very restrictive schedule, and a lot of things had to happen on my end. So we unfortunately were not able to record an episode at the same place at the same time,
For now.
but it will happen. Yes, correct.
It
For
will.
now. For now.
Because from here to the moon, to the moon. That's correct.
That's right. Right.
um so yeah, Christina was here. We didn't record, but we tried, and we're here today because we wanted to, get back to it, do what we do, enjoy our little recordings, talking about D&D, all the fun stuff. As I was saying, I was playing the finale yesterday. By the way, hi, I'm DM Joe. Um, and this is not an Owlbear podcast.
My God.
That's Christina over
I'm
there.
Cristina. I just bit my tongue trying to say that. Wow.
Mm,
Welcome.
welcome,
It doesn't get any better than this. It really
Dungeon.
this is pretty much this is pretty on brand. So welcome.
Successfully struggling because the intro
Please
is
stay a
going great.
while.
Please,
grab a
please.
grab a hot drink, get cozy. We will just struggle.
We will struggle around and pretend that we know what we're talking about. Well, actually, we do know what we're talking about, but
He does. I sure don't.
Barely. No,
I
yeah.
try.
Could you imagine if I didn't know what I was talking about with 23 years playing the game? Like,
Oh
what
my
even?
God.
That would be
Like, what have
wild.
you been doing, boo boo? Like, if
Struggling.
you... But hey, struggles teach you, okay?
Yes.
Struggles are
Yes.
great teachers.
Yes.
So I like to think of myself as a very sage and very wise buffoon
Correct.
while I just waddle through life trying to make the best out of it.
As long as we waddle, we're fine. Um, that is, oh gosh. Well, yeah. So that's who we are, and this is our little podcast. We're happy that you're here, and we are here to talk a little bit today about DM tips that you should actually never do or try to avoid.
Oh,
And
please do
we are
share.
gonna, yeah, and I want Christina's feedback, even though she hasn't DM'd. I think a player feedback
I've
for
never
just
DM'd,
general. No,
but
but
I have directed plays.
similar,
So,
but
I mean,
completely different.
you got you gotta know what's going on in the play, and you gotta give your players the opportunity to discover on their own. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, there is a vision that needs to be accomplished. You're just a facilitator.
Correct. I mean, in this list in particular that we got from the gamer, because I was looking for different topics, and this one I found, and going right off of what Christina said is, much as a director, the DM should never ever come unprepared, ever.
That part.
Also, it's not that you need to prepare documents and a world entirely of, no, you
A
just need to have
thesis.
an idea of what is happening in the session, know some of the different odds, also know your players to a certain degree to know that like they're not going to follow the quest, they're going to go off to the library or the tavern or the brothel. I don't know what setting you're playing in, but like whatever. So have a little prepared segment if you're in a town, or random encounters in general, know what's happening. Like if you're running around a mountain and your random encounter chart only has aquatic encounters, you're not prepared. That would be a problem. There are no krakens. I mean, there could be, it's your world, but there's no kraken in lakes up a mountain. That would be strange.
That would be very unusual.
I don't see how it would fit.
Yeah, no, there's gotta be an underwater cave passage,
Mm-hmm.
but
And I mean, now
I
that you,
mean, we could
I mean,
make
I
it
haven't
work.
played it now.
Right,
But I need to
right.
think about it. See, that's the thing. The idea is there, but you need to prepare it to make it make
See,
sense. Otherwise, your players are going to be like, mm.
just because you're rolling with the punches and you're going with the flow, just because you are allowing a story to develop as it goes, doesn't mean you are unprepared.
Correct.
Winging it doesn't, like winging a session doesn't either need to mean that you are, as a DM, as a storyteller, unprepared. What you said, like, at the very least have an idea of what is going on. Like you have to have
Yeah.
a notion, an overall, a general construct that is pretty sturdy for you to riff off of, you know.
It's
Riff off, that
it's
sounds sorry. Words.
are hard. But it's exactly that. Like the way I'm playing my current game, which is the West Marches stuff we talked about. And I think I've mentioned that like they always pick one point and I prepare the points around it as well, because they might finish it early and go somewhere else. That's
Right.
just, and it's not that I sit down and I'm like, in detail, this is what's going to happen in all of these points. No, I need to have a general idea of there's a temple, a road,
Right.
whatever around, to make sure that if they go in that direction, it's not just barren wastelands of travel, because
Right.
traveling in and on itself, while should, you should have a little bit, fast traveling travel is great. Like not every travel journey has to be this whole thing. So I mean that depends on how you play and all that. So yeah, come prepared. And another big thing is, Christina, I want you to describe to me a very boring dungeon. Like if I was saying what are you tired of seeing in dungeons?
Well, a very
Putting you on
boring.
the spot.
Yeah, you really are. When I was trying to mute my mic because there was a police car going by, and I was like, not when I'm trying to keep the audio quality. Damn.
Sorry.
That you're fine. A very boring dungeon. I don't know. I feel like uh pitfalls are pitfalls can be interesting. See, my problem is that I can see anything being interesting
I think
if
let
done
me
correctly.
if done correct, but let me reword like
Yes.
the decoration, the atmosphere. What is a
I
generic dungeon? Like what is
thank you because
something
I
that
wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. I
yeah,
was like, are you asking me to describe like masonry? Like,
yeah, like
are
the
we
like if you're playing and you go to a specific dungeon, what would make you say this again?
uh just like the medieval black rock from head to from like top to bottom, like
Very
it's
gray.
very gray, very millennial gray, if you get the reference. That's yes. um
I do.
like poorly lit, good, poorly lit. Like are we just, is it copy pasting the same dungeon?
Exactly. It's
Because I mean,
like
I
here's exactly why I'm asking. It's the dungeons you're
mm,
describing is what I think everybody thinks of, like the go-to, like, oh, simple dungeon, it's ruined, therefore it's bleak, it's dark, it's blah. But
uh-huh.
go with it. Make I think Dragon Age does it very well when you go find ancient elven temples. Their
Mhm.
mosaics, yes, it's great, but when you get to certain points, the mosaics are golden with silver, and it really pops in color.
Okay.
And it's still faded and all that because it's long forgotten, blah blah blah. There's dust. But if you ask me what their color scheme is, I would say gold, silver, white for that dungeon.
Okay. All right. I
And
hear you.
there's no reason further dungeons could have from any different type of culture that you're playing in. Why weren't they colorful? Have like
I like what you
broke
are saying. You're
broken
describing. Yeah.
tapestries, tapestries that are like flowing from the sky and they're bright reds and blue, and the walls, the pastiche is uh, you know, broken on the sides, and you can tell that there was a mural painted at some point, like a fresco
I
or something.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I get you. And that's, I mean, that is very true. I guess that maybe our minds immediately go when somebody says, "Oh, a dungeon," we go, at least I do, in my mind, into a very 2D kind of dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Like I immediately think of a Super Nintendo game. I'm not
All right.
even I'm not even thinking about a specific game. I'm just thinking generic dungeon game.
Yeah. I
When
get
when
it.
you when somebody describes like you go down the brick tunnel down the stairs,
Mm-hmm. Very
all of that.
Zelda.
Yes, very Zelda, very Zelda. I don't know. I think that there's something about the wording that makes people immediately go to that imagery, I guess.
I think it's what you're saying completely spot on, because also while researching, I saw a lot of people who say like, I don't even know what you mean. I play Dungeons and Dragons and we never go to dungeons and there's barely any dragons, and I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
okay then.
And that stuck in my mind, and I kept thinking, because I was talking to Charlie last yesterday's game. Part of what's
Charlie's
happening
a
is
friend of ours.
Charlie's hi Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
um we what's happening in our game is that they're being invaded by the race
Mm.
that's like at war with them, whatever. And Charlie said to me, he's like, I've never played Dungeons and Dragons as a siege. Because
Okay.
I'm telling my players very like, this is a siege and you're gonna have very little rest unless you take it. And if time passes, the siege is going to continue. If you take a short rest, if you take a long rest, whatever.
Okay.
And
Okay.
everybody is like, oh my God, my spells, my rages, my counter. Because we usually start as it's West Marches, we usually
Uh-huh.
start and finish at base. So the next session, they have full HP, they have full spells.
Okay.
So this
Okay.
time you see them, they're like counting, they're like, I don't want to use my spells. This is not the final boss.
Ah!
And I like that they're really having to keep track of it. And Charlie's like, well, I've never like D&D is not very siege friendly. And I thought, and I was like, all that the siege is really is just a dungeon. The challenge, I mean, it's not black and white to see it that way, but there is an area that they have to traverse, which is the town that is under attack, with
Huh. Okay.
various different encounters and situations where they have to do different challenges, be it roleplay, puzzles, battle, whatever, fetch quests, do things. That's a dungeon.
You're
Like
right.
that is the
You are
definition of a
right.
dungeon.
I guess
And
that
it's
people, I'm sorry, finish, please
no,
finish.
it just it's the idea of when we think dungeon and it's this gray thing with gray walls and black and dim lights. Yes, that is correct. But at the same time, if you ever have just an intricate like setting
Mm-hmm.
for a big part of a session, be it a
Mm-hmm.
mansion, be it a populated town, be it you're breaking into a thieves guild,
Mm-hmm.
they're all dungeons in the
That's
end,
true. That's true.
in the essence of the name. For me, that's what
Mm-hmm.
it is.
I guess that people simply say, like, they think of the word dungeon and they immediately think of, like, yes, the dungeons that we just that I described before, like 2D gamey, but they think dungeon as a like torturous medieval area space chamber,
Yes.
when in reality dungeons are more like a maze. They're a maze without a not necessarily without a return point, but a maze that in essence needs to get started and needs to be concluded. It's part of the
Yes. I
storyline. Whether
I don't know if I would say the word maze, because that makes you think
okay.
of like a
Yes.
fixed path that you need to
Uh-huh.
follow to finish.
That's true.
But it is what you're saying. If I would change the word maze to a series of challenges,
Mm-hmm.
like, because that's what it is. It's just
Yes.
so then
I
be as
no, go on.
so be as creative as you want. One of my favorite
Yeah.
dungeons this game that I'm playing is they were um the entrances to the Fey Wild have been shut off. Why? They don't, they just discovered it. Some guy did it because reasons. Um and to get that information, they had to go through the bleed through of some hags that had like taken over a part of the forest, and it was, in theory, it was a dungeon. They would traverse
Right.
the forest, fight an encounter, be it a battle or a situation or a puzzle. There were a lot of puzzles because they're
Mm-hmm.
Fays. And then if they passed it, they got to a further part of the forest, the next room,
Right. 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 Right.
and you continue. So I just think the idea that we barely go to dungeons, which is what you said, the Zelda, go get the item at the end of the hallway,
Uh-huh.
and then
Uh-huh.
that
Uh-huh.
item is what you need for the next dungeon, like
Right.
the MacGuffin even.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It, yes, those exist, and I still have them. I
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that.
And there is nothing wrong with them.
Correct. Well, I would say challenge yourself to be
Whoa.
more creative. I would
That
say
that part.
if all of your dungeons are gray with dirt path and two torches and nothing else, which when I was a young DM, I'm not gonna lie, most of my dungeons were that. Um, challenge yourself. Think what else could it be? Make it a cave. You already set it off. Now you're making it stressful and smelly and tight, and there's not a lot of room to maneuver. And just that you start getting variations, and we'll make it a make it a swamp, make it a forest, make it a, and you'll start seeing with the dungeon mentality how you create different encounters. So yeah,
All right. I like that. So
I
in
think it.
essence, in for example, a game like The Last of Us,
Mhm.
every big building that
I would
you're
classify.
crossing, those are dungeons.
I would, for me, if we're like overlapping Last of Us into D&D talk, yes,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
everything would be a dungeon because you need to get through it, figure out, be it stealth fight, which is very Last of Us, figure out the way that you're going to get through it and get the items that you need, which is ammo, healing,
Mm-hmm.
and then get to the next part. And that's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
we can pretty much separate all types of video gamey tabletops as that. It's a series of challenges, and if you look at it from that way, where it's not just this gray building with no
Mm-hmm.
light, you start seeing different alternatives, and it starts being a little bit more fun.
I like that. I like that. Anything can be a dungeon.
Anything can be a
Everything can be a
dungeon.
dungeon. And quite
I'm more.
frankly, like, yeah, the same can be said about King Talk. And hey, anything can be a dungeon. Just make it yourself. Be creative.
Make it yourself, be creative, and always, and if you're stuck, as I've always said, generators and Google for Dungeon Master are like the best thing, always. Um, Also something that is worth avoiding as a DM in general. Hi,
Ah, right,
is
the topic.
yeah, it's don't go too off topic. If you're running a mod, if you're running a module as a dungeon
Okay.
master, don't go too off topic. So as I've said before, I'm not the best person to talk about modules because I don't run them. I run my own games.
Mm-hmm.
But the modules are a pre-made adventure that you follow, and you go from point A to point Z, and you finish, and everybody wins, and it's way, or everybody dies. I don't know. Don't go too off topic and create these like lines that like where you're gonna have to start creating, like if you're running Curse of Strahd and you somehow decide that Strahd has, I don't know, a demon above him, which would be contradictory or whatever. I haven't played Strahd. Don't hate me. Don't
Okay.
judge me.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah,
Oh,
Strahd is up.
oh.
What is Curse of Strahd, Christina?
I don't know.
Okay, Curse of Strahd, if you don't know, is basically the most popular module for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition.
Okay. Noted, noted, noted. Thank
It
you.
is
Thank
like
you.
the go-to. Like it is
Okay.
what everybody's playing. It's there's a very good DM called This Friday. She runs a Curse of Strahd where Strahd is like a awesome lesbian.
All
Chef's kiss.
right.
I follow her. I love
Okay.
reading when she talks about her Curse of Strahds. I'm like, you know what you're doing. You're amazing. So it's so make changes like that is fine. Like that, like changing a character's gender won't change your game. But like don't create a demon above Strahd or whatever to make your life even more complicated. Don't. I mean, he's a vampire.
Oh,
Strahd's a
why?
vampire. So
Why?
well, I don't make Lilith. Like just leave it alone. Leave
Don't
it alone.
touch it. You're going to break it.
Yeah, especially if it's so well loved. I mean, if you want to break it, break it. But if you're running a module, and if you're a pro DM, at least if you're getting paid and people are paying for Strahd, they're paying for Strahd. They're not paying for your
I see what you're saying.
awesome creativity. Like, if you're running a model, run the module, or talk to your players and be like, it's a heavily modified Strahd, and people will be like, cool.
Right. Communication, baby.
Always.
Communication.
Baby, what? It's always, always, always. So
What
yeah.
else?
What else? What we have assume the players know what you're thinking, which is pretty clear. You need to be clear with your players with like everything. Like, don't think that they're understanding if they're not being clear. Make sure that you are really expressing yourself in a way that they are following what needs to be followed.
Okay.
And at least for new DMs, for example, make a checklist. Like if your quest needs X ABC and you're not giving that to them and you forget because you get it's a lot of books, it's a lot of reading,
Yeah. It's a lot of tracking too, of
yes,
keeping
make
track
a
of
little
things.
checklist. Yeah, make a little checklist, paste it up on your DM screen, and make sure that once they get to that important conversation or important point, you are telling the players what they need to know. Otherwise, you'll find yourself with the dungeon cleared, and it's gonna be like, well, what now? We didn't get what we needed. Like,
So you're
you need to help.
basically not just, I wanted to say shooting yourself on the foot, which yes, you are,
Yes,
but I meant you're basically driving everybody into a dead end street because you
correct.
have no way of continuing and they have no way of slamming
Of
through. I guess. I don't
correct.
know.
That's
Okay.
exactly it. Like,
Okay.
think of yourself as a bird feeder. Like, you are literally, you lay out crumbs and try to lay out more than one crumb because they need to follow that. They need to
Right.
follow whichever path they like the most. And then once
Okay.
they follow them, it will work really well.
All right.
So just make sure that the crumbs are laid out and that they're clear. Even as I've said before, if you need to break character to make sure your players are understanding what you're telling them, because let's be honest, not all players are note takers, not all players
That's
have good
true.
memories. They're not going to remember that Jory Baltasar is a demon from wherever, and once you mention that that's how to kill Jory Baltasar, they'll be like, wait, who that?
Who's this
So make sure,
person? I don't know her.
you can be like, oh, you can break character and be like, that's this and this. They can check their notes. It depends on how you play with your players. I make people roll an intelligence check to see if they remember. And if I see that most of them are like, I can't put my finger on it, like, what is it? They obviously have a connection, and it's, you can
Okay.
help them out. Like, it's, make sure your players are
It's
understanding what
allowed.
this. Yes, everything's allowed. Um, Another thing to avoid, which is, it goes very much with what we've talked about with rule of cool, is punishing
Mhm.
players for out of the box thinking. And I've given examples of where I've allowed it. For example, yesterday, even our friend Male, hi Male,
Hi, Male.
we were
Jojo.
fighting, yeah, we were fighting fire elemental, and she used create water. And the monster manual doesn't really like say that you should get damage extra for a spell like that. And at best, it says like, if it steps in water, it takes 1 point of damage for every ice, whatever. It was so lame. I was like,
Okay.
um, okay, go ahead and create, like, cast a spell, and let's go ahead and give it 1 dice of 1d10 per spell level that you're casting it on. She's like, okay, I do third level spell. I said, fine. She did 3d10 and it was great. Everybody was happy. And I have to then say, that is how you, like, she's thinking outside the box. She's using a spell for a way
Right.
it's not intended. However, another player, he was trying to use a spell called Dominate Beast on a werewolf.
Okay. Okay.
And this is an interesting one, because if I were to ask you, you know that, well, I don't know, a lot of monsters have different categories: beast,
Uh-huh.
fiend, fey, whatever.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
If I were to ask you, would Dominate Beast work on a werewolf, you would say,
Uh,
with the very little knowledge that you have
with a
about
very
it.
little knowledge that I have about the game,
Yes.
I honestly would say maybe, only because if it's a werewolf, it has human characteristics. So
I want to give you
what?
XP.
Yay! For the
It's like,
future.
no, but like, honestly, that's exactly what it is. It's a werewolf is considered a humanoid because it's cursed, right? Like, the
Right,
werewolf, like
exactly.
Concentrate, is a curse. So he tried to do it, and it broke my heart because he picked this fourth level spell really to make it work, and it didn't. But the thing is, there are Dominate Beasts, there's Dominate Fate, there's specific spells for each.
Okay.
And the reason that that exists is for these exact scenarios. So
Okay. All
I
right.
wasn't comfortable allowing that,
I hear
because
you.
the whole point of the cleric is that you prepare your spells thinking of what's to
Uh-huh.
come,
Right.
right?
Right, right, right. Okay. Okay. I see where you're going with that. It makes
So
sense.
that's like, those were my two examples history where I was like, rule of cool, and it would have been very cool for him to do that, but it
Yeah.
really goes against the intent of the spell.
Yeah, it really does. And like, if not the intent of the spell, which yes, because like an argument could be done about the essence that takes over the human once the curse is inactive. However, it's still enforcing a human
Mm-hmm. It's still the
to exactly the main vessel is still human. So it was a really good effort, I would say, but
yeah. And I mean, sometimes, unfortunately,
that
even though
hurts my heart.
it hurt my heart, and I could see how his heart broke. And sometimes I want to say yes, just because it rules cool, but there are just times where you have to go with rules as written. It just otherwise none of the spells make sense. Otherwise, there's no logic to the magic system. That's how
Yeah,
I kind of see it in that point.
I hear you.
Like, if you ask me, if I throw water in a fire elemental, should that do damage? Yes.
Yes.
Like, why wouldn't it? Like, what are you talking
Exactly.
about, book? Versus should dominate beast dominate a fae? No, dominate fae should dominate a fae.
Right.
Another of
I
the
hear you. Yeah.
of a thing to avoid, and I think it's so important, is don't play into stereotypes. And I'm not
Mhm.
speaking culturally charged. Obviously, don't play into those either. I'm speaking like not all barbarians are gonna run around in loincloths. Not all
Okay.
clerics are gonna be um like virgin, oh, I'm a prude. Not all
No.
fighters are super aggressive and angry. Not every, like, the whole point that I think the better end of characters, and I've spoken about one of my favorite characters a player has been, is to think outside the box. I had a character who was a paladin to the god of love, lust, and drugs.
Yes.
One of my top 5 characters ever. Like, I
Yes.
love that character. He would like pray to his god by having orgies.
I was gonna
So
say, like, as you were saying it in my head, I was like, the amount of priestesses that would have sacred in like coitus as part of a
mhm.
veneration to a deity. So
Yeah.
like, fuck yeah, man. Like, make
I
them promiscuous as fuck.
like
Pun
he ran
intended.
around and he was like, good job. He was like, I'm gonna get all my party members high, and he would be like, hey, have this, we will have a little ritual for my god, she'll bless you. Give them some mushrooms, they want some acid trip on a boat ride. It was honestly
Yes.
amazing.
That sounds so much fun. It
It
sounds
was
like
a
so
really
much
fun
fun.
session. It
Oh
was a really
man.
fun session. Well, okay, guys, that is some of the tips that we have for new DMs to avoid. There's a couple more that we might pick up in a different episode, because I think
Okay.
it's important to, as much as we talk about the things to do, it's also good to keep in mind things to try to avoid to make sure you're balanced.
Very
But
true.
for now, yeah, for now, I want Christina to check out the image that I sent her. I'm gonna go ahead and describe it.
Oh no.
Yes, this is a grotesque flesh bob that what you can see is little figments of fingers and toes and heads and arms that move together as one unison, but you can see that there's about 40 heads that pop in and out of stomachs and legs, and they just
Ugh.
it it's slow and it's gross, and the smell
Mm,
of rotting flesh devours your nostrils.
no.
What
Ew.
am I?
Ugh. I don't know how to. I mean, you just described it, but like,
Give me a name.
fuck, I don't know. It's a human blob. I'm calling it human blob. Like that's it. It like the paladin or the knight is running away, so I'm assuming that it like fucking absorbs you if it catches you.
um Okay, well, it's called a zombie clot,
Oh, of course it
which
is.
which is worse somehow from what you said. Like, it's like,
Ah,
and its whole like gimmick, or the thing that it like, what I when I was looking, I was like, I want something really weird. Is that, how in all the zombie movies and everything, there's like pieces of zombies that like stop being a problem because like you cut off its torso, so it can't really like.
uh-huh. Uh-huh.
This is all of those pieces
Oh
that
no.
like get combined and
Oh no.
go towards you, and because of their slow motion they can eventually move, Not super fast. They can maximally move 40 feet, which actually comparing to other, like, that's not that bad actually. And the first thing like that I saw about them that I was like, what the fuck, is as soon as you are 10 feet from it, you need to make a constitution saving throw or you'll be poisoned because of its smell. And
yeah, I would imagine.
It's awful. And
The rot.
it has really strong fortitude. It is
I bet.
obviously undead. And its two types of attacks is that it either slams into you like massive zombies, or it grabs you and it inputs you, as you said, and it tries to hold you within it, and you take damage as it's just the zombies are crawling out.
No.
Big no.
Like, are they trying to eat you as they are like also holding you?
Well, I would describe
like
it as yes.
On them. I would describe it.
The ability is called Flesh and Tomb, right? So you're like absorbed. And then for me, you're just getting bit and hit by all the zombies together.
I hate it. I don't like it.
I hate it. I love it. I love it, and I'm going to include it in my game because I was like, I need this.
You're poor players.
They deserve better.
They do deserve better.
But it's great. It's great. So yeah, that I really enjoyed this creature, and I hope you can all find creative, fun ways to see them. Guys, thank you for listening to another episode of us talking about a little bit of D&D. I am DM Joe. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Harrell, and you can find us on at OwlBearPod on YouTube, at OwlBearPod1 on Twitter, at OwlBearPod on Instagram.
And I am Cristina, or Crispa Contreras. You can find me on Instagram and Twitch as Crispa Contreras, and on TikTok and Twitter as Crispa120. Come and check it out. We have a fun time.
We do.
Till next time.
See you. Bye.